What changes can we foresee in American Arctic policy and involvement in the region, for example, defense, climate, and economic concerns? So how does the EU foresee working with a new administration in the United States on these pressing issues?
Well, that's a very good question, and I don't want to be too much of a bureaucrat, but I think one has to be a little careful. It's the Biden administration hasn't taken office yet, and they're just nominating their people. So I can sort of speak in generalities, but I wouldn't like to look too much into my crystal ball. But having said that, we do have basic things in common with the US. We believe in a peaceful and cooperative Arctic. We have worked together with the US on a number of issues in research, for example. We have common interest in the well-being and views of the indigenous peoples in the Arctic as well. And now, obviously, it looks good in terms of our future cooperation with the US. They've, of course, named John Kerry as the special sort of climate czar, and clearly it looks like Mr. Biden intends to step back into the Paris Agreement from the very word go. So everything looks good. I have to say that on a sort of technical and diplomatic level, our relations with the US in the Arctic have continued to be extremely cordial and extremely cooperative. So we have got no complaints there. And I think we're very encouraged in the sort of areas that we'll be able to work with the Americans in the future on climate change in the global sense, but also on a more sort of Arctic local level on sustainable development, sustainable business, black carbon, science. There are many areas where we can hopefully work very closely with, and I'm sure we will. They also, of course, recently appointed Jim DeHart as a sort of coordinator for the US policy on the Arctic. So they're taking it very seriously indeed. You also asked about the security issues. Now, clearly, I have to be a little careful there. We have to address security. There's no doubt about it, because that is a reality. But we need to stick in our policy making to the areas where we have real competence and real powers. And, you know, as I've said, we see number one threat very much as being climate change, and we're pleased to see that the upcoming US administration shares those views.